Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I'm your host, Adam Portrais, and I'm joined for the very first time by Sean Keenan.
Heidi likes Ginger.
And, of course, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and happy birthday, Adam.
Aw,
the big 4'9".
I am not that old.
Happy birthday, fella.
I'm not there yet. It's 3-6. So that's, it's still, now I can officially go late 30s, but,
Oh, my God, you're only 36 years old?
Yeah.
And you still look better than Millard Findelmeyer.
Thanks for that. I love you all. And here's the thing. You know what I would really like? In lieu of you going over and donating to your favorite charity, how about you donate to my favorite charity, patreon.com/HMP. Because, frankly, that helps me out. But believe it or not, we do have somebody who actually has joined us over at patreon.com/HMP. Big shout out, everybody, to Rob joining in at the $5 club. Rob, thanks for joining, man. Thanks. And here's the thing, Rob. You've now discovered, as a new Patreon subscriber, all the garbage that went on in the pre-show and how this is about the 5th time that we've tried to do this bloody open. So thanks. You get a little peek behind the curtain, my friend. See what we do here. See how the fudge is packed around this bad boy, because this is what we do.
Rob's Patreon nickname?
Oh, yes, please.
Biscuits.
I like it.
Rob Biscuits, you are the newest member of the Patreon Hall of Fame. If you'd like to get your own nickname and, of course, get pre-show, post-show, and all that kind of good jazz, head on over to patreon.com/HMP and drop me a birthday present, man. I don't care if it's $1. And I'm going to have an incentive for Patreon come the end of this program because, boy, oh boy, the people over at Patreon have done us, I don't want to say a solid. They've done us something, boy, because today they've got they had a litany of things to choose from, and it was a dead tie, but we figured, hey, let's take the one that's going to be the shortest one to watch. So we got the movie that's only about an hour and 10 minutes long, yet for some reason feels
it's only an hour and 10 minutes long?
Yes, it's only an hour and 10 minutes.
It's an hour and 11 minutes.
Yes.
Wow.
And at least 10 minutes of those are credits. Bare minimum, probably more closer to 15 with the head credits. But today we're going to be talking about Gingerdead Man. Yeah, that's a comic book, and you know what's scarier? Bruce actually read it before we were doing this stuff. What's that tell you about Bruce? He's a sadistic young man, that Bruce Leslie. So we'll be talking about Gingerdead Man. Strap in, everybody. It's going to be a bumpy ride because, what was it, like 2005, I think this movie came out in?
That is correct, 2005.
2005.
But you know what? It could have been 1995, could have been 2015. It has a certain timeless quality.
Oh, there's a timeless quality about it for sure. It's like
you know what it feels like to me, this movie? It feels like it's like an episode of Goosebumps, but with the F word thrown in.
You know what? That's not far off. That is not far off at all. If you did a couple of clever edits, this could be on Nickelodeon.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's go ahead and do it, man. Let's go ahead and take a listen to the trailer for Gingerdead Man. I'm probably going to have to edit this in post, too.
In a quiet bakery, one woman is about to confront her past.
We gotta fight back.
An unforgivable act of violence.
It also says here that after they fried him in the chair, they cremated him and sent his ashes to his mother in Coonsboro.
Something else was just left at the back porch, too.
Must be that gingerbread season.
Oh,
Heck.
An unholy curse.
What is it?
I think I know what. I mean, who it is. It's me, Roger! Why'd you come and get me?
A new kind of cookie.
What the hell is that?
Well, it sure ain't the Pillsbury fucking dope boy.
Who are you?
as fast as you can. Something's in the oven. The Gingerdead Man. Evil never tasted so good.
Eat me, you punk bitch!
Yeah, that was the trailer.
That was a Red Band trailer.
That was a Red Band trailer. Here's the thing. When you're not approved by the MPAA for anything, you don't have to submit nothing. You just do whatever the heck you darn well feel like. Here's the IMDb plotline. As we know, IMDb 100% correct in everything they say and or do, and this is a delight. An evil yet adorable gingerbread man comes to life when the soul of a convicted killer, this real-life cookie monster, wreaks havoc on a girl who sent the killer to the electric chair. This is starring Gary Busey, Robin Sidney, Ryan Locke, Larry Cedar, look, there's a people you don't know, all right? And it's directed by Charles Band. And Charles Band, if you know anything about cinema, should probably be brought up on War Crimes. He's a longtime producer in all of the Full Moon series stuff, you know, your Puppet Masters and all that kind of garbage. It's just like, it's pure, like, this guy makes, he makes like Toxic Avenger and all that stuff look classy. So,
hey man, it was Greg Sestero's breakthrough role was in a Puppet Master movie.
Yeah, oh yeah, well, that's the one we'll all know him for, Puppet Master 16 or whatever the hell it was.
Origins.
So, like we said, this flick somehow or another has gotten, I guess, some sort of notoriety of some sort. But let's figure out if our old friend Bruce Leslie knows anything about that and can break it down here for us.
It's time for Bruce's comic book connection.
All right, you better have some sort of good excuse for this thing.
Well, the first time I ever had a pull quote used for a comic book, and it's something that's only happened twice, so I'll never forget that first time, but it was a little number called the Gingerdead Man. Now, I'm sure you're asking yourself, what kind of pull quote would Bruce give a comic like that? Well, here it is, folks. I said, and I quote, "This is the kind of comic that used to get people thrown in jail." End quote. Now, that is the review I gave the comic, and the publisher, Action Lab Comics' Danger Zone division, loved it. They ran with that quote much more so than I would have imagined. Now, another question one might have is, why bother reading the Gingerdead Man comic if you've already seen the movie? Well, don't you worry your pretty little head about it, Adam, because I'm going to tell you why.
Oh, goody.
The comic really fleshes out the story. It fleshes out all the ooey-gooey details that might be lacking in this movie. Now, first off, the comic does a better job of explaining Millard's mother's witchcraft, and it gives you a better understanding of the curse she puts on her son's ashes, which she then turns into gingerbread seasoning. And by the way, guys, I always thought that gingerbread seasoning was ginger. I thought it was a simple recipe. Like, you got your ginger, you got your bread, you mix the two together. What do you have? Gary Busey. But it also explains why it has to have blood mixed into it, along with fire and lightning added to the mix to give it life. Now, something else the comic gives us that this movie denied us. The comic shows how the Gingerdead Man uses a severed finger to make himself anatomically correct what he wants to be, shall we say, romantic with a woman.
As you do.
And you see why I said this is the stuff that used to get people thrown in jail? I mean, imagine if they had went for the severed finger trick in this movie up on the big screen. Well, nobody saw this on a big screen, but you know what I mean. It becomes a whole different movie, doesn't it? It's not a movie about Gary Busey as a deranged gingerbread man. Now it's a movie about using a severed finger as his you-know-what doing you-know-what to you-know-who. Now, you think there's footage of that on the cutting room floor? Like, do you think that was in the first draft of this movie and somebody had the good sense to get rid of it? I don't think so, because I don't think good sense comes into play when you're making a work of art like this. Now, I read the first two story arcs of the Gingerdead Man comics in their entirety, and then I moved on. I decided that the Gingerdead Man comic reading phase of my life was over. So now I only read Gingerdead Man meets Evil Bong comics. They have an entirely different feel to them. Now they're not just about a Gingerdead Man, but there's also an evil bong for him to meet, as the title implies. They're pretty much on point with the branding on that one. Man. Now, that doubles the quasi-illegal nature of the comics, so run down to your local comic shop and ask, nay, demand, that they give you a Gingerdead Man and an evil bong. This brought to you by Action Leg Comics Danger Zone Division.
I think we heard a death roast from Sean. It's just like, that's what Captain Death sounds like when he comes for you.
And I'm assuming you guys have both read the comics as well as the movie, right?
Oh, backwards and forwards.
I actually just read the novelization of the movie.
It's great, man, but without the pictures. I'll say that the comic does a much better job with the catchy one-liners from the killer than this movie does. But it did pick up in the sequels. I think the sequels were Passion of the Crust and Saturday Night Cleaver. They did a little bit better with the catchy baking-themed one-liners, though they weren't able to secure Gary Busey for the sequels.
Oh, what a shame. So now I get why you wanted to see this, Bruce.
Toot his own horn.
I kind of didn't get it before. I didn't know that you had a pass with the creators of the comic book. So there's a comic book first, and then they make this movie. Is that right?
Nope. Full Moon wanted to branch out their properties to the world of comic books. So this sort of took the reverse. This is like the Star Wars path to comic book connection.
Sure. It's exactly like it.
Exactly.
Marvel's
going to buy the rights any day now.
So I haven't read any of the comic books, and quite frankly, I don't think I ever will. But the movie itself, right? It's terrible. It's a terrible, just terrible movie. But
I don't know, man. I think let's just put it on a scale of terrible to Dude, Where's My Dog? Where does it stack up? Better or worse than Dude, Where's My Dog?
Well, it's better than Dude, Where's My Dog, for sure.
Good. So we got some common ground to start from.
Well, but here's the thing about this movie, right? Is that the people who make this are adept at making, I'm guessing, television, maybe, because
I don't know about that.
I don't know either, but it's you can completely follow this movie is basically what I'm saying. Like there's a few things in this movie where you're like, what? Like the witch with the robe that drops off the gingerbread, and you never see that person again. I don't know what that is, but for the most
that's what
part,
you need the comic for.
Okay. But for the most part, they're good at shooting what they're shooting. The acting is limited, the writing is limited, but the directing, they know what they're shooting. And even though, it all takes place in the back room of that bakery, for the most part, a couple of things here and there, but it's the back room of that bakery. For the most part, it's well done for what it is. And I was surprised by that because I figured that a movie called The Gingerdead Man would not be handled as well as it was. They don't pretend to be something bigger than they are. They know what they are. But they at the very least they are shooting. They're shooting what they're shooting well. And,
guys, give me. There it is. Okay, never mind.
But it still has just a. I don't think they're shooting it that well. Now, first, let me say that I think I enjoy this movie way more than I should. And part of it is because like how you can enjoy The Room and movies like that. I don't think this is shot as well as Trauma or Asylum films. I think other things you might compare to Full Moon. I think they're definitely lower on the quality scale than those two schlock producers.
It's all crap. It's just like, would you rather somebody, no one's going to be like, oh, the consistency of this poop is way different than this consistency. They're basically, they're just, there's still poop on your floor. It's not good.
And at times, no matter how bad the movie is, sometimes the professionalism of the people that are hired around the movie, like simple things like lighting and such, a bold statement here, but I think some of the non-story related qualities of The Room are higher quality than what we're getting in this movie. Personally,
I don't know if I go quite that far because especially the lighting in The Room is so flat and boring. Nothing is going on. At least here in most scenes they bother to light it a little bit and make it look like something. Heck, there was one scene where we got degenerate lowlife there and everything, and they give him the Shatner in Star Trek where it's just like we throw a little bit of light in his eyes, a little bit of color in the background. It's like it's very Shatner-esque. So they feel like they're trying with this at least a little bit.
Now, were either of you guys surprised by the lack of flesh, the lack of chowder buckets in this movie? Considering they've got some pretty attractive leads and that this is a movie that you would think wouldn't have any qualms about using whatever assets they had to sell a few copies.
See,
I am surprised by that, quite honestly. And it's one of the things where what made me say what I did at the beginning of this show, of our show, is that it really is basically an episode of Goosebumps, but with the F word thrown in. I mean, it
some blood.
Feels that way, but it's so comically done that it's like you see a severed finger at one point. You see, it's pretty awful. I mean, the special effects in this, it's around the same level of like scary of like your Child's Play, your first Chucky.
Well,
I think there was a heavy influence here.
Oh yeah, it's for sure that a gone killer reincarnated into the body of something else. I mean, it's straight up Child's Play. But what if we put it inside of a cookie? Huh? Ooh, huh?
This is one of those where somebody comes up with the high concept first of realizing that gingerbread looks very much like Gingerdead, and then they have to reverse engineer a movie around that.
Pretty much.
And I'm all for it. I'm all for it, man. I can't wait for the Pancake Massacre to be made.
Here's the thing. Like the movie itself, like I think as far as like the girls go, you probably put them in one of two categories. You either got them early in their runaway career or late in their runaway career. Early and they're not quite willing to, go all the way for Hollywood yet, or they've already done all that stuff, so it's out of their system and they're above it now.
Now Robin Sidney has shown she has shown the baked goods on film.
The
in
baked
other projects.
goods. This is where you're I swear.
Yeah, and Robin Sidney is, to a degree, I mean, on the terms of what you would expect in this movie, she's a fairly accomplished actress. I mean, she was on Drake and Josh, the TV show, prior to this, I think. She also left the Gingerdead Man franchise to be the star of the Evil Bong franchise.
Yeah,
she's also had some other roles.
Who is she dating over at Full Moon? 'Cause she's doing all of those things. She's like the Full Moon scream queen. The rest of these people, they by and large don't really have anything else to do with the flick. But she's all like, heck yeah, I'll do another 15 of these pieces of garbage.
Hey, they paid SAG minimum, which is good pay for the movie of this quality.
Hey, man.
But also Jimmy Dean, the guy that plays the cowboy daddy who's opening up the rival bakery across the street, he has like Star Trek acting credits, man. I mean, they've got some actors in here, believe it or not. And then, Oscar did he win an Oscar or just nominated, Gary Busey?
He was at least nominated. I don't know.
Nominated, I think.
I don't think he won. He might have. We'll find out.
I just wish the movie poster could say starring Oscar winner Gary Busey. But man, Gary Busey is trying hard in that cold opening. What'd you think of that cold opening? Like, did you think that something had messed up and we were jumping in without seeing the actual opening to the movie?
The first time that I saw like part of this, like, so here's my history with it. Like I'd heard of the Gingerdead Man stuff at one point. I looked it up on YouTube and I was like, holy crap, the whole movie's here for free. I'm like, well, let's just jump right on into this. And I got halfway through the cold open and I'm like, oh no, this is terrible. I am leaving here now while my hair is not on fire yet. I'm getting out.
Oh, you missed out on a gem, man.
Because it's so, like, Gary Busey looks like he just woke up in the middle of acting and was just like, oh, I guess I'm here. I should start doing stuff. There's a horrible ADR scream, and like that's like when the first bit of dialogue is like a horrible ADR scream that you're downhill from there. Like it's all garbage.
And his twitchy acting, I mean, the man's inner conflict. I'm believing that this guy ain't right in the head when I'm watching this performance.
Oh, I guess I'm just jumping all over the place. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me Mama, don't do this, Mama. I'm gonna shoot you with a gun. Hold on.
And really small knives are important in the opening here. Like, did you notice that there are two knives involved and they're both like pin knives, like the tiniest knives that they could find?
Isn't this during the time too where Gary Busey thinks that the angels are talking to him? Doesn't he? It seems to match up actually.
Sure. I always just kind of assumed that he's still in that stage of his life. I didn't know that he got through that.
Well, there was an intervention at some point with him where, like, because he's like, there was like prescription drugs or something with him. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. But I think this is peak Busey at the height of Busey. Like it's before I'm with Busey, that show where, you know, like you just bum around with Gary Busey all day. Oh, and it's before he gets who he is yet, you know? And so like, that's the craziest you're going to see Busey is in things like this. And the performance really does state that. And there's another thing too. So Busey at the top of this movie, weirdly still has screen presence, which is weird that he does,
yeah.
But he does. And then when it comes to the audio for him voicing the Gingerdead Man, what are they recording on? Because that audio track with him, he should have the biggest, boomingest voice of anyone else in the movie.
They're like, here's a Zoom H4n and a bottle of Jack Daniels. Go into this closet and come out an hour later, and we'll take what you have and muscle it all together and call it a movie.
I thought his audio track sounded distractingly better than the rest of the audio. Like it's clear he's in a condenser mic in a room with acoustic foam, and he is chewing on the windscreen. Like it's obvious that he's really close to a condenser microphone, while everybody else has the lowest, the least expensive functioning boom mics recording them.
But to get back to your other thing, Bruce, you know that there's actual actors in this movie. You know, the woman who plays the drunk mom, you know, like she's way too old to be playing the mom for the main character.
Yeah, she was on Gunsmoke.
She's in the Italian Job. She's in the Michael Caine Italian Job. She's one of the main characters in the movie.
Is it Dame Judi Dench? She looked familiar to me.
No.
Her name's Margaret Bly. Well, her name was Margaret Bly. She passed in
she saw the Gingerdead movie came out, and people were still watching, and she's just like, I've been too long on this world. Goodbye.
Oh, man.
But it's so crazy how Hollywood works, where you're in this gigantic, awesome, cool movie, Michael Caine's Italian Job. It's a very cool, awesome movie if you haven't seen it. Yeah. And then towards the end of her career, she's in the Gingerdead Man. I mean, if you need a personification of how tough the business can be, I present to you Margaret Bly.
She was sitting on the set just going, I'm just happy to be working.
Yeah, she was. Guarantee you.
SAG minimum is SAG minimum, man. You take it where you can get it.
Right.
We offered you $400 a day to shoot buckshot at the sign across the street for no good reason. Enjoy.
Now, I'll tell you this, though. Actually, I'm not telling you anything. I'm posing a question. Is the movie infinitely better or infinitely worse if instead of a puppet, they made Gary Busey put on a gingerbread man costume?
Worse.
I think I would be so into it. Kind of like the Gumby costume that Eddie Murphy wore on Saturday Night Live, only it's gingerbread colored.
Or they just take that Gumby costume and spray paint it the gingerbread color.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Just not even like worry about the head or nothing. Just go like, there you go. It's like, that's just brown Gumby.
Put a couple of gumdrops on there. And man, you know, storytelling. Anyone who's ever tried to venture into storytelling and asked any advice has this one piece of cliched advice that they hear so many times that they get sick of it. But they always hear show, don't tell. But I think in the beginning we could have used a little tell, because they neither showed nor told that those were his ashes in the gingerbread mix. I mean, you really have to do some connecting of the dots on your own and paying careful attention to like what the man on the TV saying in the news to understand that those are Gary Busey's ashes in that mysterious robed woman's gingerbread seasoning, which once again, I will argue should simply be called ginger.
Well, I like how like, you know, she gets a knock at the door. She's like, oh, an unexpected delivery. Oh, a hooded person was delivering it. Well, guess this is ours. Brings it in there.
Mysterious package on the front door?
Yeah,
of course we'll put that in food.
Makes total sense. And so when dude comes in, he's just like, he looks down at the package and goes, hey, I think this is the new gingerbread mix that we ordered. It's like, it says gingerbread on it. How stupid can you get? It's just like, I think this box says pizza. It says Pizza Hut on the box. Yes, you can infer that pizza's inside the box.
So you're talking about Brick, a.k.a. the Butcher Baker.
Oh, my gosh. What a character.
Greatest character in the history of cinema, perhaps.
This is...
Why does it feel like you're trolling us on our own show?
Yes.
Man, because I love the idea that this skinny kid's one aspiration in life is to go to WrestlePalooza and become a professional wrestler, because he just doesn't have the physique for that, man. I've seen what The Rock cooks. This guy ain't cooking what The Rock cooks.
Brixton, let me ask you this, just kind of like we're jumping all over the place here, but when he comes back at the end, why is he kind of dressed like Blue Beetle?
Because that's his Butcher Baker costume.
Yeah.
Everybody recognizes that when you mix a butcher and a baker, you get the Blue Beetle.
It's weird.
Charlton Comics originally called him the Butcher Baker and changed his name to Blue Beetle.
We've got to change it around here because in about 60 years.
I love how they understand that their premise is so ridiculous that they really got to push the creation story. Because first off, most filmmakers would be happy to say that a witch dropped off the ashes of her son, and that is enough to possess the gingerbread man. But that's not enough. It also has to have human blood spilled into the mix.
Oh my god.
So man, this bakery needs to go out of business because they put mysterious anonymous ingredients delivered in a box by a witch into their cookies. Then a man bleeds into it and they still don't throw that batch out.
Like his first thought is, "Hey, let's put it over the food." If you've ever worked in the food industry, it's like literally the last thing you would ever do. But their first instinct is like, "Hey, I've cut my hand. Let's put it over the food." What in the world? I about had a heart attack. I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me.
Change it from Betty's Bakery to Aunt Hepatitis's bakery there. And then not only that, but lightning has to strike so that you get the Frankenstein lightning bolts on the oven while it's baking. It's like, man, what if people still aren't buying it?
The whole power goes out.
Watching this movie, they're not looking for the right explanation for the science behind this.
I am. The power goes out, and yet that oven's still cooking, and we all of a sudden it's got Frankenstein antennas coming out of the top. I don't know.
And I did notice, Sean, I don't know if you noticed this, but I noticed that the credited production designer is Elvis Strange. What do you think are the chances that his birth certificate actually says Elvis Strange?
I think that gives me a good idea for when I'm working on bad movies.
Hey, I got the eye of Agamotto there, Hunter.
I think that gives me a grand idea.
But of course, this confluence of otherworldly things, the human blood, the ginger seasoning made of human ashes, and the lightning strikes turning it into Frankenstein's
Let's
lab.
go ahead and take let's take the latter two portions out, okay? Let's take away the blood. Let's take away the fact that maybe she just put this to the side and never touched it. What's the point of putting the ashes by the thing? In what planet? This assumes so much. So much. A, that she'll use it. B, that they'll bleed in it. C, that they'll make cookies with it. D, that it's going to be in a human form as opposed to just a regular circle cookie.
And let's talk about this cookie cutter she breaks out.
Oh, my Lord.
I'll be the first to admit that my time in a bakery has been extremely limited for obvious reasons. But my goodness, she pulls out this humongous cookie cutter. I think you deserve to get murdered by your own cookie if you're using a cookie cutter that big.
Well, the other part to it, too, is that when she pulls it out, my first thought was, oh, that poor prop department. Because you know that they had to make it themselves. And you know that the director is like, nope, that's not right. Nope, that's not right. Nope.
I want one a young Gary Coleman can get into.
More and more and more. I wonder how many options on the Gingerdead Man cookie cutter they had to make.
Well, it's a full-moon production, so they have them do it on paper first. So they're just they design everything on full-size paper, and then they present it, and he says no 15 times because they just don't have the budget.
Or it's one of those where they make one, he hates it, they make 15 more, then he decides to use the first one.
Yeah, that's generally right.
But then also for a movie quality production, that is one ugly-looking raw hunk of dough when she cuts it in the cutter. You'd think they would actually have an artist out there to make it look a little bit better than this lump of vaguely gingerbread man-shaped dough that's there when she's done with it.
Why chocolate chips for the buttons in the eyes and stuff?
And who you don't put the gumdrops on before you bake the cookie.
It's so stupid. Like, none of it makes sense. And none of it looks like the thing that comes out of the oven at all in any remote shape or form, other than the fact that, like, oh, it's sort of like we put red around the collar. I mean, I guess that'll be a bow tie and somehow a collar somehow. Who the heck knows? And then just crazy buttons in it and that face, boy.
Have you guys been into very many small town bakeries?
Can't say that I have, really.
I've only been in one, and it's the town I grew up in.
I've been in a couple, and I got to tell you that the super hot ladies don't usually work there. That's all I'm going to say. Like, they have at least two, by small town standards for sure, two super hot ladies working at their bakery here. And it's usually more like the Mrs. Butterworth types in the small town bakeries I've been in, which I have nothing but love for the Mrs. Butterworth types.
Didn't you just see the lady drinking Jack? That's their ace in the hole for that one.
Yeah.
And that's like she makes it up, and then the other two girls are extremely cute, and they're just like, hey, we're working here in this thing that's gonna die, and we're
working in tiny little tops and tight jeans that kind of leave our bum cracks exposed.
Oh, it's perfect.
Like not good baking clothes.
I'm okay with those baking clothes.
We got to get to another thing too, because I keep wanting to talk about this. So, how much of this movie is improvised? Do you think? Because there's a couple of scenes where it really looks like Gary Busey is just talking, like when they got the Gingerdead Man near the rat. That sure feels like something where they're like, "Hey, Gary, just say something about."
Hey, there's a rat. You see a rat in front of you. And he won't move. What do you do?
Yeah.
At times, I feel like they just stuck a lavalier mic on Gary Busey while he slept and recorded what he says in his sleep. I'll choke you, you whore!
I'm telling you,
I'll kill you.
3/4 of what Gary Busey says in this movie is just like kind of random. Just They
wrote the script around whatever they could get from Busey.
He's just grumbling and like it's not even words.
It was originally supposed to be a drama about a Vietnam vet, but all they got was him rambling about some gingerbread cookie killing people.
Why don't we just made it into a cookie movie?
But I like how we get no transitions between scenes, by the way. These are abrupt cuts between scenes, like almost jarring, because we're watching her make a cookie or something. Then we get this abrupt cut to drunk Betty, who we haven't met before. The first time we meet drunk Betty, she's out there with a shotgun that strangely enough can break through the twine holding up a sign without breaking windows.
Unbelievable. It's just like, does anyone know how, like, even like a remote idea about how firearms work?
And is there any reason whatsoever for this movie to be set in Waco, Texas? Like, they all have pretty horrible Texas accents with the exception of one person. And I think the one person couldn't talk any other way, so they had to make everyone accommodate that person.
You might have a point there. I think that because Waco is still thought of as that's where the Branch Davidians were.
Yeah.
I think that Fixer Upper is helping solve the problem that people have with the town of Waco, Texas.
Oh yeah.
I think people love the Gaines, but I think that Waco, Texas still has that veneer of, there's crazy people that live in Waco.
That's kind of a tough
one. Speaking of Waco, what do you guys think of Miss Pretty Face Waco, Lorna Dean, the rival to our protagonist here?
Could she be any more flippant over everything? I love it. I don't know, like, one would surmise that the character's somewhere in like her early 20s or whatever, but she's got everything of like a 16, 17-year-old just like, whatever, I don't even care about this anymore. It's just great.
And I love that, for all the shortcomings of this movie, they found a couple of pretty cool cars. Like, I like Jimmy Dean's Camaro or whatever he's driving, and then I like the old Ford that Amos has.
Yeah, I mean, somebody in the production had a car.
They're good-looking cars, for sure.
But,
I just looked up that actress who plays Lorna Dean.
Yeah.
She is in a ton of stuff, man. Like, a lot of stuff. She's in She's in Mad Men. She's in CSI, United States of Terror. She's on that show called Life. Remember that show there? Yeah, she's in a lot of stuff. It's
Wait
crazy.
a minute. Are you telling me that attractive people tend to get work in the media business? Huh.
I know, it's weird.
That's bizarre. But Jimmy Dean is great too, because like what he ends up doing though is like with the whole place offers her like, hey, I'm opening up a bakery in a year. You're gonna be out of luck. Here's $50,000. Your business is mine now. $50,000. What in the world? The equipment in there is worth more than $50,000.
Well, small town money is different than big city money, man.
I'm also not I am not the world's greatest businessman, but when you're trying to do a transaction like that, maybe bringing up the fact that her mom is a hopeless alcoholic twice is not a good idea.
This will get her. This will get her on my side.
Twice.
Your mama's a lush, by the way. What?
Your drunk mama can do a whole lot with $50,000.
Well, yeah, there's a lot. $50,000 goes a long way at the Walmart. It's just like, are you trying to ingratiate me here? This is not how it works.
Oh man, and it just kind of reminded me, there was a scene in the Drew Carey show once where the evil old lady boss said that her accounting department spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to determine that poor people think $400 is a lot of money, so that's what they offer people for stuff.
Hey.
So he probably figured that $50,000 is a lot of money to poor folks there.
I put that on there, and I'd say that probably happened in real life. I wouldn't second guess that. If somebody goes, that really happened, I'd be like, you're probably right.
But how about when Amos Cadbury shows up? Because Amos is the breath of fresh air in this movie. I think we can all agree that out of everyone here, Amos is the most talented actor. He's the one that had no career beyond this movie.
Yeah, when you get an eyebrow piercing, you just know that you're the bad boy. And a shirt that says, pull my finger.
I miss the days when short leg pants came just above your ankles.
And what are you talking about? This guy is in a ton of stuff. He's still working, in fact.
He is?
Yeah, I'm looking at his IMDb right now. Again, CSI, Law and Order. He's on Hawaii Five-0. He does like one-offs on these major network shows.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because I didn't think he had a career beyond this, because on Wikipedia his name wasn't blue that you could click on. But
your name ain't blue. You don't exist in the Leslie verse, boy.
It is so weird, though, because he is like, to me, when I'm watching it, he's almost believable as a person, whereas the rest of these folks are obviously doing fake accents and plastic acting and dressed in costumes. Like Amos seems real to me.
Yeah, he's not bad. Like, he's, as far as like the acting goes, it is a bit more than natural. It doesn't feel like I'm reading my lines in a very dramatic fashion for you.
He's the one I suspect could only talk the way he talks, so everybody else had to put on those terrible Texas accents to accommodate Amos.
Oh, and how's this sound? In 1998, he won the award of Model of the Year by the VH1 Fashion Awards.
Well, Ryan Locke, good for you. See, I can spot talent.
Bruce Leslie, talent agent. You're the Tony Gunth of our era, Bruce. I've said it before, and I'll say it again.
But I do.
Oh wow, deep preacher cut.
There you go.
By you, sir.
I do love how Gingerdead Man. I do love how Gingerdead Man is in the fridge, just going nuts on the milk and eggs and whatever else is in the fridge. Like, this is the key point where he starts out as a normal sized cookie, but you could explain away by drinking milk and eating flour and eating eggs, he managed to grow to a Gary Busey size and have Gary Busey in full costume step out of the fridge.
I can't say nothing from the sequels, but because I don't know. But doesn't that feel like it's the obvious way to go with this? Is just have them fall into a vat of yeast and just get bigger and bigger or some such nonsense?
That would work.
But you guys are completely forgetting the point of all of these things, is that they're trying to show off their special effects. They really are, because what they're trying to do is get jobs on bigger, better properties. And so all of these makeup effects guys and special effects guys, they start with these small, boutique studios making schlock like this, and then they move from there to bigger, better things.
Like
so
Evil Bong.
You see that? You ever see that Gingerdead movie? Yeah, the one where it looks like a cookie got stepped on and we put it in front of a camera. Yeah, that one.
But look, it doesn't matter what the property is if they have any sort of talent at all. They get swept up by these bigger companies. Yeah, like usually what they do is they'll have one guy who's got like experience, and then they'll have 10 other people working on stuff who are brand new to it. And that's the trade-off, is that, you're making $100 a day working 18 hours a day. But if you have talent for this sort of thing, next thing you know, you're working at Stan Winston's studio, And
I like it that they know their limitations too, because when the Gingerdead Man cuts off Drunk Betty's finger, they cut the camera away and you see like stuff flying in the air, but they don't even try to pull off the actual act of cutting the finger off.
Yeah, probably a smart move.
And then, of course, hitting Julie in the head with the frying pan. I like it that anytime the Gingerdead Man is holding something, it's like so obvious that he's not holding what he's supposed to be holding. I mean, it's not even a real functioning puppet here.
Yeah, well, listen, I like the fact that in this movie there's a revolver that shoots no less than 20 times without getting reloaded once.
I noticed that.
Standard Hollywood flair, though.
No, it is not. Like maybe 8 shots out of a 6-shot, sure. But 20 and it's never reloaded whatsoever, that's just, oh my gosh.
And what totally took me out of the movie, what totally broke my immersion, my suspension of disbelief, is when Amos goes out to his car to retrieve that gun, he actually has it in a proper gun carrying case with the bullets in a separate place. You know, this guy in Texas keeps the gun loaded and stuck under his seat. Like, he actually has to pull it out of the little silver box and then load the bullets in it and then go inside. There's no way Amos doesn't just have his 6-shooter, his side iron laying under the seat ready to go the first time a cop pulls him over.
Yeah, you know what happened? They just go, look, we this movie needs to be over an hour long and we only have 45 minutes worth of material. How about you load up that gun? In fact, why don't you go register to get that gun and then, have a 2-day waiting period and come back and then start shooting up the place?
What's it look like when these people eat breakfast?
It just ruined my immersion when he went out there and did that.
Now I know for certain that you're trying to troll us, Bruce. Now I know.
I love it. No, I love this movie. Now, how about when the Gingerdead Man is driving the car? When Jimmy comes back to try to see what Lorna's up to, and the Gingerdead Man is out there with the aluminum rolling pin.
How does he? What? Like the forethought that came to mind when he was just like, okay. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to go out. I'm going to go to the car because there's another man out there. Don't ask me how I know this, but there's another cat out there, and I got to get him. Best way to get him will be with his own car. Yeah, sweet revenge that way. So I need something because God knows I'm a little tiny gingerbread man. I can't reach the pedals. How did this thought go down? This is stupid.
I love it. Something that the sequels did much better than the first movie.
How did he even get it into gear? How did that happen?
They stayed on brand better. In the sequels, every kill has some kind of baking implement used as the weapon and a clever baking-related one-liner afterwards. They really were lacking in this one. But the rolling pin at least fits the shtick.
Bruce, you're burying the lead here, which means that on your own, you've watched... How many Gingerdead Men movies have you seen?
Okay, there's Passion of the Crust, Saturday Night Cleaver... I have not seen the movie for Gingerdead Man Meets Evil Bong, but I'll probably check it out.
So you're 3 deep in the series.
Yeah, and I'm reading the comic for Gingerdead Man Meets Evil Bong.
Right.
Evil Bong's a lady, by the way.
Oh, of course.
Well, makes sense.
Nothing but sense.
But, Gingerdead Man's kind of like Leprechaun. They hadn't figured out the shtick all the way in the first movie, but they got going with it as it went on.
Oh, because those increased in their awesomeness.
That's funny because that is a good correlation because I was thinking about movies like that when I was watching this last night. It's that there's a whole lot of like Leprechaun and Child's Play and just those really like garbagey Puppet Master. They're all the same movie basically, just with a different prop.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Puppet
Some
Master
of
more so than the other.
Well, maybe in their broad strokes, but in their finer qualities, some of those are way different. I'm sorry, people, and I know I'm going to get letters from horror fans, and just get over yourselves. Puppet Master's garbage. Any like that stuff, like, and honestly, anything from New Moon, and this is included in this, is garbage. There are some that, like, while Child's Play is a little bit corny and is basically kind of the same story as this, at least that's done with a bit of a plum, for heaven's sake. This is done rubbing two nickels
Leprechaun.
together. Yeah, it's so low rent.
Leprechaun. But I kind of like the low rent.
You would.
This gives me the same kind of joy that David Hasselhoff Nick Fury movie gives me.
Now we know we can commit him. Any place will take him at this point.
And I like just how quickly Sarah, the protagonist, Robin Sidney's character, just how quickly she connects those dots once the Gingerdead Man starts trying to kill people. She very easily goes from point A to point B and deduces that this has to be Millard Findelmeyer.
Well, the Gingerdead Man even says to her, "Don't you recognize my voice?"
Oh, and I like that. The guy who she had like contact with at like whole time. Let's say she went to the trial. Let's say that she she heard what he was saying there on death row and just before the switch is thrown for the electric chair and everything. Let's say she heard all of that. She might have heard maybe 4 hours out of this guy total in her entire life, if that. And like, I don't know. I never remember like weird acquaintances' voices coming out of pastries. Nigh on 5 years later.
I would argue that the fact that his body's been burned to ash, then mixed into a gingerbread cookie and baked, and then come back to life, that might even change the quality of one's voice.
Yeah, probably, but it didn't happen to Shocker.
There's this weird thing. When Jimmy Dean is dead because Gingerdead Man's just crashed the car into him.
Oh, yeah.
And Lorna goes out there and she's sad about her dad, and then she steals his pinky ring, and that never gets explained. Like, what? I feel like that story was going somewhere.
She's a gold-digging hussy, Bruce. Come on. Put it together.
I felt like that part of the story, like a thread got dropped in the editing process or something.
I think that probably what was going to happen is that there was a B storyline where that character was actually going to get romantic with the Gingerdead Man, and they decided that, you know what, that's stupid. Let's not do that.
See, I think the movie gets a full star rating better if that happens.
But you know how you react when you see your father murdered before you. You just go, "Daddy, well, it's been a good ride, I guess. See ya. Thanks for the pinky ring, and I'm out of here. I'm gonna go." And don't mention it to anybody.
And I also like it when Lorna first shows up with the rat, and the fight breaks out between her and Sarah. That Sarah immediately goes for pie in the face.
Oh, a meringue pie, lemon meringue, right in the face. I love it. It's like that's a quality
if it was good
pie.
enough for the Stooges, it's good enough for Full Moon, and I agree with that.
First of all, you wonder why your bakery's going under. Look how much is baked at the end of the day. They are closed, and they've got nothing but bread as far as the eye can see. It's a wonder you're underwater, dipstick. You're baking all the stuff and not selling any of it.
And
you got $1 million worth of equipment in a town that doesn't need it.
Yeah, no one's going to buy your bread, honey. Wrap it up.
And I know it's a nice, harmless gag, the old pie in the face. But if you've ever actually been hit in the face by a pie with someone who means it, it hurts.
Oh yeah, and if you're smart, you go through and you like bring it back and then put it through the hair. Because that's where it's really going to like sit there. If they don't get it out, then the milk kind of rots a little bit and it gets really stinky, and then they stink for a while. You got to really pie people right, people. If
you're sadistic, you pull it straight from the oven and put that scalding hot pie on them.
Here's a hot apple pie, sucker. I love it.
Boom. Now talk about a wrestling move. That'd be great. The wrestler has to bring an oven out into the ring, pull out the pie in the face.
Oh no, Mean Gene, he's baking another pie. What's this one, rhubarb? Oh no.
The Butcher Baker's finishing move, pie in the face.
What was Doink's finishing move? Do we know? Do we remember?
I'm pretty sure it involved a seltzer bottle.
Oh, is that what it was?
You know how hard it is to find a seltzer bottle in today's modern marketplace?
I actually have one.
Of course he does. Of course he does.
I know who I want to party with.
You're not wrong, Fred.
But then when Sarah finally does get killed, she's not even technically killed by the Gingerdead Man. He just sets up an elaborate tripwire with a cord that looks about as big around as the rope you would use to a boat out of the lake. Like, there's nothing subtle about this tripwire.
And oh, so very taut. This this rope. It's just, could that be any, like, it looks like a jump rope that's like nice and loose and barely holding on to anything.
And how did he have the time to set up this elaborate lever device? Because it's not that easy to get a knife delivered with enough force to penetrate the bones on the front of the cranium the way this one does. It had to have some kind of cantilever and a weight.
It's in there.
And it's not like the Gingerdead Man is very, very clever.
I think would it have been just as good if he just kind of jumped off the shelf and stabbed her in the face?
Yeah, I mean, because, like, let's think about this. Like, this guy was struggling to get his faculties together while he was robbing a diner.
Yeah.
And you think that somehow in the afterlife that's given it, like, maybe that's like, you know, a minute in the afterlife is like 1,000 years or something, and he's had enough time to learn some stuff, I guess. I don't know. But it's just, it makes no sense that he would all of a sudden, you know, be this cutting of a booby trap guy. And then and Amos goes, he's booby trapped every door on the way out. Because he's just like, we're stuck.
Man, the Booby Trap Man. Now that's a movie I want to see.
Well, they have those. It's called Saw. There's like 8 of them now. Go watch.
No, but I want a gingerbread booby trap Saw movie.
Listen, just put on some glasses. I don't know. What do you want from me?
Instead of, what's his name? What's the guy's name?
Tobin Bell.
Yeah, instead of Tobin Bell, the chair rolls around and it's Gingerdead.
Hey, everybody, do you want to play a game? I've rigged up all the knives in this place to hit your forehead as you walk out.
And then he throws drunk Betty in the oven. And when Sarah goes to rescue drunk Betty, which, you know, you see this one coming from a mile away, but Gingerdead Man not only shuts the oven, but they have an oven that's handily equipped with like a padlock.
As you do, because some of that meat might get out. You never know.
And I love
Go ahead.
I love the idea that Hollywood has had for years that guns make the perfect lockpick.
Bam!
That oven, by the way, clearly a walk-in cooler.
That's all it was. Yeah. That's why you have the lock on there, because coolers have that all the time.
With red lights, you know, they put some clever red lights in there.
You got any red gels back there? All right, guess what? We got an oven now, boy.
Oh man, Amos gets hit in the head with a hammer, like a mallet. You know, not even like a claw hammer, which would really do some damage, but a mallet. Everything's going sideways. He does manage to shoot that lock off, but just when it looks hopeless, that's when Brick shows up, the Butcher Baker, dressed in his full WrestlePalooza regalia. Man, talk about the B story. I wish there'd been like 15 minutes of interstitials of Brick at the actual WrestlePalooza, like volunteering to try out to be a wrestler. Like I could have really gone for a nice 15 minutes of the Butcher Baker in the ring.
Or just like training with Survivor in the background or something.
Like Cinderella Man style.
Getting killed by Bonesaw.
Yes. How awesome would it be if they switch and then there's Randy Savage in a cameo?
Bonesaw's ready.
But you guys have to agree with me that it's pretty stinking cool when Brick wrestles the Gingerdead Man to the ground and eats him.
This is so
like
stupid.
That's vicious.
Well, it's
I
like
do not have to agree.
It's one of those things where you're just like, and nobody thought to like just like, I mean, not even just eat them, because why the first instinct is to eat the creature is beyond me, but to at least tear him apart. Like I when I see, you know, if I'm walking, you know, and like a crazed mad dog comes up, my first thought isn't like, boy, I'm gonna eat him to show him who's boss.
You've never seen The World According to Garp.
I guess. But I'm just
the
like,
dog bites his ear and he bites the dog's ear.
But to me it's so dumb. And then of course
I love it.
You know what happens.
If I'd written the movie, I definitely would have had the Gingerdead Man being defeated by being eaten. It might not have been Brick, but somebody would have to eat the Gingerdead Man. But man, talk about the shock ending, the M. Night Shyamalan twist at the end.
Hold on.
When Brick becomes the Beast.
Yes, but before he does that, I have to acknowledge the fact that we have at least at the point when this thing was directed, at least a 15-year-old joke of got milk. I'm like, are you joking me?
I love it.
Wow, there's kids now that don't even know what that means. Ugh, so terrible.
Even does the ADR burp.
Ugh, so bad, just covered in blood, and I'm like, I'm gonna be chugging some milk now. And then like the milk brings
full moon. If you're looking for actors, I can burp on cue. I'm not like this guy.
Take that day rate.
I can give you 15 straight takes burping for real every time.
Yeah, so he, I guess he becomes him somehow. I don't know how that works.
I love the makeup job. What did you think, Sean? Killer makeup when they turn Brick into the Gingerdead Man?
Yeah, it's so good. They're really at the top of their form when that happens.
Yeah,
make his tongue blue somehow.
Yeah, well, first of all, they gave him a Charms blow pop and said, "Have at it." Second of all they did was just rip off the makeup from Evil Dead. So Evil Dead 2. It's like, all right, what else did you do?
I love it, man. He starts licking Sarah upside the head. It's great.
Taste blue raspberries, sucker. Ugh.
But I do have one small nit to pick.
Oh, please get to the things that you didn't like.
When they kill Brick, when the Butcher Baker is possessed by Millard Findlemeyer, they kill him by shoving him in the oven and baking him. Which, if you think about it, that should only make a cookie stronger, right?
Or at least black.
Like the one way you don't kill the cookie is to bake it. They should have dunked him in a big vat of milk or something.
Ooh, like Batman style.
I get your nitpick. That's a very excellent point, Bruce. When we're breaking down what's wrong with this movie, I think that's one of the things that we really got to focus on. Oh my god!
Yeah,
and
Charles Band
a horror movie isn't. I mean, the twist knocked my socks off. I didn't see that coming. I was shocked, but no horror movie is complete without a coda. They give us a little coda, not quite a denouement at the end, where they're having the bake sale to help the nurses and the Girl Scouts or something.
By the way, again, super hot nurses.
And somebody brings gingerbread cookies, and then one of them gets purchased and shipped to Los Angeles, which, lets us all know that these guys are planning on giving us more Gingerdead Man in the future. But they're going to do it on location in L.A. instead of Waco, Texas.
Quote, unquote.
They were still on location in L.A. when they shot this thing too.
Exactly. Like I really have the feeling that this scene at the end, they had to call everybody back like 3 months later and say, "Man, we only got 64 minutes. We got to do something here."
Oh my god!
It's got to be 70 minutes to be considered a movie.
Well,
so they have the bake sale.
Yeah.
Which, in all fairness, it should have been the old lady in the cloak that dropped off the gingerbread cookies at the bake sale or something.
Well, let's be honest, though. At the same time, a bakery having a bake sale, isn't that just called business?
You know what? You make a valid point there. It's like McDonald's special hamburgers and fries today.
Yeah, it's just like, ooh, we're selling hamburgers and fries, but we're doing it outside now. Is that the kicker? I'm like, is that better? I don't know.
I like the idea that somehow she pulled Girl Scouts and nurses together for this fundraiser, which, as you astutely pointed out, should just be like Tuesday business.
Yeah, and all of a sudden people want to come now just because like you put a card table out and threw some cookies on it. They're like, oh, guess what? Your business is not going in the toilet now, huh?
Well, let's be honest. Would you rather go inside the bakery where a bunch of people were killed by a possessed cookie, or just the sidewalk?
No. Stay out of there. Awful bloody in there. Here, have some of these cookies, and I swear to you, don't have any sort of hepatitis or nothing on them. Ugh. No, thank you. Listen. If it weren't for dead, what's his nose there, you'd be out of business. So, and frankly, I think that's the only best thing to happen. You're in over your head. You don't know what you're doing. You're clearly horrible at business. It's called capitalism. Get out. Let the other guy in. But he's dead now.
And I'm kind of sad that like the sequel wasn't the ghost of Jimmy Dean possessing a cookie. Like they should have taken it to the next level on the sequel. And Brick comes back. There's 2 cookies: the Butcher Baker cookie and the Jimmy Dean cookie.
What about a sausage? Why not sausage? It's obviously just said it writes itself.
That's a totally separate franchise.
Fair enough. Speaking of franchise, we've gone on longer than the first edition to this franchise than the actual bloody movie has. But before we get to our actual review and everything, we have to ask ourselves, this is going to be a tough one, how this movie relates to our good old friend Sylvester Stallone.
Hey, thanks, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Good luck.
The special effects supervisor on the movie Demolition Man was a guy named William Butler. Stallone, as we all remember, was the star of Demolition Man, which is a movie where everyone who has seen it also remembers the 3 clamshells and Sandy Bullock. I get to call her Sandy because I'm in the business. I also get to call Dustin Hoffman Dusty and Robert Redford Bob. I actually met Bob Redford. He told me to call him Bob, so I refused to call him anything else. Bob, Bob. William Butler is also allowed to call Robert Redford Bob because he has the story by credit for Gingerdead Man. He would move on. He would move on to story and script for Gingerdead Man 2, The Passion of the Crust, and for Gingerdead Man 3, Saturday Night Cleaver. He came up with a story, wrote the script, directed the movie, and voiced the Gingerdead Man. And then in 2011, the matchup everyone was waiting for, Gingerdead Man versus Evil Bong, he would get a writing credit for creating Gingerdead Man. My guess is William Butler is probably tired from Gingerdead Man 3 doing all that work. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that there's 4 Gingerdead Man movies. 4. Now, why 4? Because you know how many movies there are about Easy Company? 0. There's a television series, but there's 0 movies about the bravest and best men who ever called themselves American. Gingerdead Man has 4 movies. 4. What I'm really hoping for is that someone listening to this podcast who is not Bruce is a massive Gingerdead Man fan. Because I want to know, what do you call yourselves? Do you call yourselves Gingerdead Heads? GD Man fans? Gingervitis? What do you call yourselves? William Butler has been involved in a lot of projects in some fashion, whether it's writing, directing, acting, or producing. He directed some of the Power Rangers stuff. He was a character on 90210, acted on the TV show My Two Dads, a show that was not about a homosexual couple raising a daughter. And he was a producer on a project called Mama, Don't Make Me Wear That Dress Again. There isn't any information available for this show, so you just have to imagine what a show called Mama, Don't Make Me Wear the Dress Again is about. And there you have it, HMPers. Your Stallone connection this week is William Butler. Now, Goldie Hawn and the Three Bears, let's review Gingerdead Man so we can wait in line to go see Avengers Infinity War. I already have my tickets, and I even know where I'm sitting, but it just makes me feel better to be there already, to know that my seats are secure.
And we hope that
I hope you're sitting next to a Gingerdead head.
He wears a tie-dye shirt with the Gingerdead Man on it, just goes, hey, bro, we got a lot to talk about.
What was the guy's name again, Sean, that did all this Gingerdead Man work?
William Butler.
Could you imagine what it's like to go to his house for dinner? You know, there's lots of Gingerdead-themed paraphernalia around.
Well, he's worked on a ton of stuff, like honest to goodness, a ton of stuff.
Yeah, but still, when you work on Gingerdead Man, that just takes over everything.
I am going to guess somewhere in that guy's garage, there is more than likely a puppet that is the Gingerdead Man.
Well, it's like when you walk into
You're
Sean's...
talking about on his pillow and next to him on bed.
It's like when you walk into Sean's house, the first thing you see is a big giant Eddie poster and stuff like that. It's you know, you get it.
Yeah, right. I'm about to actually have my very first adult movie poster in, well,
yeah, you will. And the lady can let you get away with that, eh?
As an adult, not a kid in college, I am going to actually have a movie poster up somewhere at some point because my name is on the poster. And so I want to make sure I have a movie poster of the movie that I am on the poster for up in my house somewhere. Probably somewhere not in my living room.
The fact that that's an adult film, never you mind. But he's on the poster.
It is not an adult film. I said it wrong.
It's called erotica. It's different. All right. Here on Hero Movie Podcast, we have our own patented Robin rating system. If you'd like to check that out, head on over to Facebook.com/Hero Movie Podcast. It's right there on the top of the screen. And, join in the fun, man. Bruce, where does Gingerdead Man fall on the Robin rating system for you? This is very curious.
This is going to be the interesting one for sure.
Okay, so the first question we have to ask ourselves is this a Dick Grayson? Maybe yes, maybe no. But we can all agree that this film is excellent by every metric. I'll have to tamp down my enthusiasm. I'm going to rate this one with a more reasonable and realistic rating of Tim Drake.
Well, speechless here, Keenan.
Jason Todd. I have nothing else to say about it. It's a Jason Todd.
Yes, this is a Jason Todd all day long. When I first decided to start to watch this thing, that cold open just made me go, this is going to be garbage. I don't think I can stand even an hour of this. And let me tell you something, kids. I watched this whole movie today. I have seen the Lord of the Rings extended editions back to back to back on the big screen. I have seen 7 Star Wars films back to back to back on the big screen in one day. This felt longer than all of those. This is just, it's ungodly. If you were on death row and you're like, how do I make my last hour on Earth longer? You will watch Gingerdead Man. Now, you won't make it more pleasant, mind you, but you will make it longer. It will feel like an eternity.
Still better than Batman and Robin.
It is. Yes. I agree.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's just there's a lot of bad. This is Tim. This is Damian Wayne. Oh my gosh, I'm going up higher. What the hell's wrong with me?
What are you doing?
Oh, Jason Todd. It's Jason Todd. It's like it's destroyed my mind. It's like what little bit I had previously is now gone. So that's it, everybody. Gingerdead Man, and thanks to the people over at patreon.com/HMP for doing that. And here's the thing. We're at like I think like $250 some odd right now, something like that on Patreon. Here's my guarantee to you, and watch Bruce be the one who starts ponying it up. If we get to $300, we'll do the second one. If we get to 4, we'll do the one after that, and 5 we'll do the one after that. But so if you want to, if you ginger deadheads out there, I like that actually. That kind of rings well. If you ginger deadheads out there want to make that happen, patreon.com/HMP. We will be, of course, reviewing Avengers: Infinity War next week. But until then, Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet, sir?
Oh, you can go straight to Amazon.com. You can search for my handy little name, Bruce Leslie. Look for my author page. You'll find links to my wonderful bevy of books: Dragon in the Needles, Dragon in Gallus, Dragon in the Darklands, Chubby Wizard, Wrath of the Manticore, and of course, everybody's favorite, Nerd Spawn Genesis.
You got a lot of ends there. Maybe in a couple of years, you just have like an odd follow up book called like Dragon Out of Time. You do with that what you want, but I just
I'm still trying to do the plot for Nerd Spawn Nemesis, even another end.
Nemesis, Genesis. Are you just taking Star Trek names at this point, or?
And then Nerd Spawn Time Warp.
Ooh, let's do the Time Warp again, and you should do that by following Sean Keenan on all his stuff. Keenan? Ooh, that was a transition.
Man, you are rock solid again this week, Portrais. Good job by you. You can find me on Twitter at Hero Movie Sean. I don't think I've been on there in months and months and months. But if you want to throw me a line there. That's where you can find me. Also, you can find me at dogeatpod.com.
And, of course, you can always check out my other podcast, The Film Find, at filmfind.com. Listen, I'm going to brave out the world and go see an Amy Schumer flick this week, kids. So, try to make me not...
funny. That looks funny.
All right, shut your mouth. Anywho, so
it does. It looks funny.
And it very well might be. I haven't seen it at this point, so that's it. So, there you go. And we'll do that in a little bit
funny,
more.
Buddy. It doesn't matter who's making it. If it's funny, it's funny.
Hey, look, I hope for nothing but it to be funny. Will that happen or not? Thefilmfind.com.
It doesn't feel like that to me. It feels like your mind.
Will you shut up and let me finish the flipping show? That's it, everybody. Join us next week for Avengers: Infinity War. For Bruce Leslie, Sean Keenan, I'm Adam Portrais. Stay super, everybody.
Good night, Marty and Evie. Goodbye, Commodore.
It's my part.